table is talking to you. Watchtower, haven't a clue. JW's falling like flies, waking up from the years of the lies. The round table is talking to you, clearing the way so you can leave too. You're watching The Round Table, where we discuss the Watchtower, the Jehovah's Witnesses, and how they're falling apart around the world. Stick around for some truths. Enjoy the reality, only at The Round Table.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're once again back together with Jimmy.
Welcome
I did
back.
this last time.
You did that last time.
Jimmy.
Dude, I'm Jimmy. Just because I missed one filming with you guys. Come on now.
You're forgotten. You're forgotten. We would never forget Jimmy.
I was at work.
He's the number one apostate.
You know how much my phone blew up when that video hit was it a couple days ago now?
Yeah.
No, I'm still here.
We got your ass so good.
Yes, you did.
That was all Diasiss.
So he's Diasiss. I'm Jimmy.
All right, Jimmy. Yes, it's me. The last one was total impromptu because you were working, he was working, nighttime came, I was tired.
It's like, hey, what are you
already.
up to?
And Diasiss, being the single, no kids, well, he has kids to live with him, guy, it's like, hey, what you doing? You want to make a video? I'm like, okay. Because they didn't have anything done because it was last minute. Both you guys had to work last minute.
Yeah.
It's like, John, let's have some fun.
Yeah. And it turned out good, but a bunch of people were asking, where's Jimmy? Jimmy didn't leave, did he? We love Jimmy.
My phone blew up.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for looking out for me.
Hey,
I appreciate every one of y'all.
Hey, Diasiss, Jimmy, Mike, it's the same thing. It's all the same thing.
Oh, and I just want to go ahead and say my voice is not exactly 100% because I spent time at the Blue Ridge Rock Festival in Lynchburg, Virginia this weekend. So just bear with me on my voice, please, y'all.
He wanted to see
you were
Godsmack.
pretending to be a single childless person this weekend.
No. I wasn't pretending. I went by myself, had a great time. Carissa, of course, let me go, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
She told me just go have a good time, said I needed to relax a little bit because I had been going so hard at it with the activism. So I needed a little break.
Yeah, you have been hard at it. You're the number one apostate.
Oh my goodness, why y'all keep saying that?
Because it's the truth. Now,
You're really
I want
good
to
at
say
keeping up
this
with the group.
before we get into it. First of all, we're going to be rebutting the September JW broadcast.
Gotta watch one of those?
Oh, it's full of nonsense.
Okay.
It's full of nonsense. But there's a lot of things that need to be said about it. So that's what we're going to be doing. Don't worry, we're not going to make you watch the whole broadcast. I'm just going to put the pertinent clips in. We have to watch the whole thing, so you don't have to watch the whole thing. So we're sacrificing.
That's what Watchtower always says.
Oh God.
We study for you,
so you don't have to look at it.
We think for you, so you don't have to. Use this whole thing right here. Yeah, no,
If you really want to watch the whole thing, of course, there's going to be a link to the broadcast in the video description. Have at it. Enjoy. Keep some alcohol next to you while you watch. You don't need it.
Call Tony.
But with that said, we've had a bunch of calls from a bunch of women asking us to have more women on the show. And I totally agree. And we've already talked about this quite a bit. We got Carissa on, which was awesome. The only reason Beth hasn't been able to be on is because we were having to go, I was having to go to Jimmy's, and someone had to stay with the kids. So now the studio's in my house. So it'd be easier for Beth to come on. So when we're going to cover something that Beth is interested in, she says she's definitely coming on. And we have another local EXJW who is coming on. And she's probably going to be on the next one. And you guys are going to love her. So she's awesome.
And I want to say for everybody watching too, it wasn't that, it was to the exclusion of women. It's just, we were just three guys that just got together one day and we're like, hey, let's do a show.
Yeah, really.
So, I mean,
So for all the folks that are commenting, hey, why don't you guys have, ladies
we don't have a problem with that.
We don't have a problem with that. We're
not elders.
No, we have referred to ourselves as a judicial committee in the past.
Right. So that's only when we were targeting the governing body.
That's true.
Oh, God. They are so
But if you're local
in my book,
the Winston-Salem area, anywhere in this area, and you'd like to be on the show because you feel like you have something important to say, just hit us up. Email, tweet. If you're on watching Watchtower, let Jimmy know, or any of us through Facebook, whatever, on Discord, let us know, because we're always looking for people who have an interesting story to tell. So look for, I'm not going to give her name yet because we want the big reveal to be on the show. Look for her next episode because she's excited to do it. And we're excited to have
she's got her own channel too, right?
Yeah, she does, but don't give it away.
No more hints.
Okay, whoa. All right. Never mind, just kidding. All lies.
All right, so let's get right into the first clip. And then we're going to have to watch it. I have to watch it again. And I know the things I do for you people. And then we'll talk about it.
Hello, everyone. We're so happy to have you with us for this month's broadcast. As you can see, I have a friend with me as co-host. We are friends, aren't we?
Yes, we are, David.
Oh, that's so good to hear. This is Herman Van Selm. He's a helper to the writing committee, and we work together every day in the writing department. Herman has quite a background. He was born in the Netherlands and spent a number of years as a missionary in South America. What was that like, Herman?
Challenging, amazing, rewarding. In one challenging assignment, we lived in a remote area in the rainforest where there were no other witnesses. In time, we conducted about 25 Bible studies.
Wow.
A group of courageous Bible students showed us the letters they had written to resign as members from their church. Now, that week, the church pastor in that tiny village received a lot of mail.
I guess mail he didn't want to receive.
It was no fan mail. It strengthened the faith of all of us, wherever we may live, to see how Jehovah cares for people who are often viewed as insignificant by the world, but who are precious in God's eyes.
Great pictures. I love it.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. I had to show you a little bit of it, but there you go. So this was just the introduction to the September broadcast, and it's got two governing body helpers, David Splain and the other guy. I don't know. He didn't look that
Didn't catch his name.
I caught it and forgot it
Who
in the
knows?
same second.
Yeah.
But apparently he was a missionary and all of that stuff. So, Jimmy, what did you notice from the first 2 minutes of this video?
Well, probably like the first 15 to 20 seconds. The first thing I noticed was the lame humor.
Yeah.
The forced laughter
Yeah.
into something that's supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
And that's such a turnoff.
It's just so fake. I mean, why couldn't they do like we do and just sit and actually talk to each other? I mean, these are supposed to be like the most Bible scholarly whatevers in the world
Humble
by their
men.
own opinion. Can't they just talk about stuff like we talk
That's
about
what we
stuff?
do. We have no scripts or anything.
You can see the guy reading his joke off the teleprompter.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. What about you, Diasiss?
No, I mean, that's exactly what I saw too. I mean, just look at how stiff they are. I mean, they're so afraid to just be themselves. And this reminds me of how it was when, I was a Jehovah's Witness. It's controlled behavior.
Yep.
And again, you can see, and outsiders can definitely see, look at how highly controlled their behavior it is. Look at how afraid of judgment and scrutiny from the top
It's so
they are
robotic.
afraid of.
It really is. Yeah.
So robotic.
This is how a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses live. Afraid to even be themselves.
Even when I was in, I could not stand watching JW broadcasting. I couldn't stand it. I thought, well, they mean well, but frankly, this really sucks, and I just can't watch it. And I was in. I mean, I really thought this was the true religion or whatever at
Do
the
you
time.
think it has something to do with the fact that it seems like they've dumbed it down?
It's definitely dumbed down.
I mean, I feel like it's directed at like
Yeah.
kids.
It's
spell it
like,
out.
you're right. It's like grown-up Teletubbies. That's really what it is.
Yeah, okay.
I hadn't even thought about
Yeah.
that. That's a very good point. It's
Grown-up
like it's
Teletubbies.
aimed at spiritual children.
I figured, originally when I used to watch the JW broadcasting episodes or even a lot of the other movies, programs and stuff, I used to think that maybe they were trying to maintain a level of professionalism. But even in the world of professionalism, a lot of the time you're still allowed to be yourself and not have to have this corporate, uptight, stiff attitude. So, yeah.
Even the corporate videos that I used to have to watch and deal with when I worked for other people, they tried very hard to look relaxed. Now, sometimes they failed because it's corporate. They're not really
Especially if
actors
it was
like you
low
see
budget.
in movies, so their budget is only what it is. So they're not great, but they're a whole lot better than JW Broadcasting. You would think, I mean, sit down, talk about it, get the points out. I mean, the guy was a missionary. Surely he's got awesome stories that he doesn't have to sound like a robot when he's telling. So, and that goes into the next thing. He starts talking about his time as a missionary, about how he had 25 Bible studies. And when he said that, I'm looking at the grass huts. And I'm thinking, yeah.
How did you keep them awake?
These people are not educated. You know, you're not dealing with educated people. If they had access to the internet and they knew what you people were really all about,
that's a good point.
They would not be studying with you.
And why does it seem
that's
like,
a good
and one
point.
thing that I picked up on along that line was, why does it seem like that every experience that is given by a missionary on JW Broadcasting or in the material, it always starts, no matter what, that there was no witnesses there.
Right.
Right.
And how long have they been preaching? 140 years? And there's literally no one there.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Every experience starts out like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Good point.
Wow. Okay.
It hadn't even occurred to me.
Wow.
But then, now this was interesting. He talks about with pride how all these people that they studied with wrote what I would call their letters of disassociation into the church, and how the church pastor or whatever wasn't very happy about it. And I'm thinking, I wonder if the church community shunned the people who wrote the letters. Because this is a very small community.
Right.
It would be really bad for these people if they got shunned in the same way that witnesses shun. So he's so
Good
proud
observation.
when the Bible students do that to their church, but they rail against people who do that to them.
And then they misapply the word apostate.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because if these people wrote those letters to that clergy guy, they have now officially, according to the real definition of apostate,
The actual definition.
they changed
Not the
their
made-up
view
one.
to go to the witnesses.
Yep.
So you had 25 Bible studies that were now 25 apostates in real definition going into the organization.
That's right. Someone made a great comment about that on the channel the other day. All witnesses are apostate.
Yes.
I mean,
Because
basically,
unless they were born in.
Yeah, unless they were born in. Yeah,
Unless
if
they were born
anyone
in.
who left, but if you think about it, you back up all the way to the beginning of the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses. Russell was an apostate.
Yep.
Russell
You
was
know,
an apostate.
Rutherford was an apostate.
Yeah.
They all came in as apostates, and it's an organization of apostates based on the actual meaning of the word.
true.
Which in the Insight book, if you look up apostate, it says literally a falling away. It means you left. That's all it means.
That's it.
But they
You
like
used
to
believe
put
you
that
left.
word as another label.
Yeah.
They love their labels.
Yeah, love those labels.
That's a label they want to put on all of us.
The Byte model
You know what?
calls it
Bring it.
loaded language.
Yeah.
It's language intended to create an impression about somebody before you ever hear their side
It's
of
a
the story.
silencing technique.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah.
Now, the last thing in this clip was at the very end. Isn't it wonderful how Jehovah cares about the insignificant
Dude, I wrote the same thing down.
people, right? Right?
Yes.
Yeah, you probably wrote it better than me.
I said, he said in that video,
Right.
people are viewed insignificant to others, but not Jehovah.
And what went into my head is, what about all the children you're not protecting within the Kingdom Hall? They are what people might consider insignificant. But if Jehovah doesn't see them as insignificant, why isn't he protecting them from the people who are in the hall to do harm? But he doesn't. So apparently he doesn't care about them. So it's just another piece of evidence.
He's using the apostates to, expose it all.
Yeah, Goatlight covered that really well. Really well when he said that
who's really
if
the bad
you're the
guys?
true religion, why does Satan's system have to come into play to get you to change your policies that hurt
Facts.
the innocent?
Wow.
Yeah, that was Goatlight's got a way of just boiling it down to the facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he really put that well.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's the first part. Let's get into the next one.
At times, you may have compared an article in your mother tongue with the same article in your second language and found differences in the translation. Oh, we'd never conclude that the translators had been unfaithful or careless, or that they were running ahead of the organization.
The goal of translators is to convey ideas accurately, naturally, and clearly. Bible expressions, illustrations, and vocabulary.
Well, before our brothers and sisters receive the New World Translation in their language, they have to use Bibles produced by Christendom. Often these Bibles contain false religious ideas and terms that reflect those ideas.
But it must be a wonderful thing to have the New World Translation.
Yes, it's a wonderful thing. But still, the brothers have to get used to the new terms. Remember that they've been using the original terms in their local Bibles for years to teach people the truth.
Why are illustrations particularly difficult to translate?
An illustration that works in one culture might not work in another. Illustrations are only effective if the reader can relate to them. I remember an article that discussed the need for us to be patient in difficult situations, and it used the illustration of a driver who is stuck in traffic. Now, one translation team wrote to the translator help desk, and they explained that most of the readers were not familiar with traffic jams. So the team wanted to use a different illustration.
Now, when we read in our language edition of the Watchtower or other publication a different illustration than the one we read in English, we can be confident that the translators received approval to make this adjustment so that the right message is conveyed.
Vocabulary, that is the words that are used in a language. Now, it opens our mind to how wonderfully Jehovah made us, with a capacity to think and feel and have many concepts and ideas, and to have the ability to express it in our language, in words, use words for that. But we express them in so many different ways.
All translation teams, regardless of size or location, benefit from regular communication with the writing committee of the governing body.
Well, we understand that the governing body directs matters from headquarters.
When they're not sure that their solution is exactly right, on target, they can write to the writing committee and ask for direction to inquire whether this solution conveys the right idea in the context. And this effective communication system really helps to unify the thinking of all the translators and make sure that they all produce the same message. And that unifies the thinking of the worldwide field.
And it is impressive that Jehovah has an arrangement in place that reverses the effect of Babel.
Okay, so I cut most of that out for you and just showed you the little parts that we wanted to talk about, because some of it was really dry, some of it was very interesting, and some of it just, they're just talking about translation. It's not really theological or anything like that. They're just discussing the ins and outs of the difficulties of translating when it comes to their publications. And the first thing I want to say about that is, I don't know about you guys, but when I was in, I used to be damn proud of how many languages the Watchtower was. And I'm still, that is very impressive.
Yeah,
what they've been able to do.
Yeah. To be fair, it is.
And there is no other organization I'm aware of that has their literature, and last time I looked, which was a couple of years ago, like 760 something languages. That is impressive. Yep. I will give credit where credit is due. The ability to organize that and to make that happen is quite a feat, and they deserve snaps for that. However, there's a couple of things that get says. First of all, Splain starts this off. And he says, and I hate it when they do this, he speaks for everyone who's a witness. We would never conclude that the translators are careless, unfaithful, or running ahead of the organization. Okay, first of all, you don't speak for me, old man. I speak for myself. Yeah. So don't tell me what I would do or not. That used to make me mad when I was a witness. Don't tell me what I would or would not do because you don't speak for me. You could suggest that we don't have a reason to believe blah, 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 but don't say I would never do it. So that's the first thing that irritates me. The second part about that, then we'll get to you, Jimmy, that irritates me, is he makes that statement and then backs it up with, Nothing. He gives no evidence or reason for us, the audience, to not think that the translators are doing any of the things, the carelessness, the unfaithfulness, the running ahead. Right. Well, how do we know they're not doing that? What evidence are you providing? None at all. And that's
only what he tells us.
Watchtower behavior. Yeah, just believe me because I'm a governing body helper and I said so, so it must be true.
Basically.
No, that doesn't work, Jimmy.
When I first started watching that part, the only thing I could start thinking was, I wrote it down. All I see that they're doing is displaying thought control.
Yeah. That's it.
That's all I saw. And then I wrote down that he said in the video that, well, we might be wrong on some things, but we worked hard. He said that. And then the only other thought I had at the very beginning is, if we're so close, or if they're so close to the time of the end, why are they talking about this when the last Watchtower the last Watchtower study point was on prepare for persecution?
Right. That's a good point.
You know,
why are you talking
about that? Shouldn't you be telling people what to do with their go bags?
That's a good point.
You know?
The meteor is coming down.
Why are you talking about this?
Towards the earth, and you're like, hey, Jimmy, let's talk about translation.
What relevance does this have?
But that point you make about they might make mistakes, but they work really hard.
Yeah.
Would you be okay with that if your heart surgeon told you that after he royally messed up?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with no for some reason.
But I worked really hard, Diasiss. You should be fine with the botch job I did on your heart.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I'm good.
This stuff aggravates me. I apologize. It aggravates me.
I'm just trying to think, why are they bringing this up? And y'all can elaborate on this, and this is what I wrote down. Are they trying to just help out the rank and file by saying that their translations are good because maybe the activism focuses on...
They're trying so hard to prove their
point.
Legitimacy at this point. They are desperate.
Because, you know, as activists, we do point out some of the things that are wrong with the translation.
That's true.
And the misuse of words.
Yeah.
So since there's so many people coming out of the organization and learning about this, they're going and telling their family JWs or whatever, hey, there's your translation. Oh no, but on JW.org, they said that everything was okay.
Right. It's a defensive position.
It's got to be.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Now, he goes into 3 separate segments: Bible expressions, illustrations, and vocabulary. And I'm not going to lie, some of it was actually pretty interesting about the way you have to be careful about translating to different languages. You can't always do things literally because it doesn't mean the same thing depending on the language you're going to. That stuff was actually interesting. But Bible expressions, the first part, one of the translators talks about Christendom's Bibles. Christendom's Bibles. And he keeps using that phrase, in Christendom's Bibles, blah, blah, blah. So to me, what jumped out of my mind is that's Stephen Hassan's bite model. Us versus them.
All over again.
He doesn't give any credit to the education, experience, or anything of the people who translated the other Bibles. He doesn't say, look, we recognize that they have credentials, blah, 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 but we feel that their Bible is biased in this particular way. No, he just, Christendom's Bible, which to a witness means the devil's Bible.
That's it.
Hold on. So if they're saying that those Bibles are just invalid or whatever, and then they turn around and say, well, we might be wrong.
I know.
But we worked hard.
Yeah, but we worked hard.
But what about these other people that worked hard too?
Yes, that's right.
You know, it just doesn't add up.
That gets me to the next point. He talks about how their Bibles mistranslate things. And he just takes it for granted because it's true. His audience thinks that the New World Translation is the bee's knees, that there is no better Bibles than the NWT. That's what they think. But he never once talks about the complete lack of credentials of the people who translated the New World Translation.
Right.
Every other Bible, you can look up who translated it. You can find their credentials. You can see if they actually understood the original languages. And there's actually been evidence and testimony to show that some of the people who were on the New World Translation team had no clue what they were doing. They do not have a command of the original language.
They won't put their names. It's not because they're trying to be humble.
Yeah.
It's because they don't want you to know just how much they threw this together illegitimately, without credentials, without skill.
Yeah. I've had some people make an interesting point that said the New World Translation should not be called a translation. It should be called a version. And the difference is, as I understand it, a version of the Bible is like if you or me or DA, we picked up a Bible and we're like, we started reading it and writing it in our own words. That's not a translation. No. It's a version. But to actually understand the original languages and try to make a faithful translation, that's entirely different.
But that's one of the points that we were taught to use out in field service. When someone mentioned that we have our own Bible, no, we have a translation.
Yes. Yeah.
And all the others are versions, because that's what I used when I was defending the New World Translation. I was like, hey, look, this is an actual translation. You know, the other one's just King James Version. It was with all the D, thous, and those. So
as far as I know, there's only one person who is a legitimate Bible scholar. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. If you guys have heard of other people who have had good things to say about the NWT who have credentials, let me know, because I want to be fair.
Yeah.
But the only one I remember, and I remember the Watchtower really played it up and even bought the book and read it, called Truth in Translation, was Jason Beedon.
Okay.
And he said, though he was very unhappy with the way Watchtower used the name Jehovah in the Greek, he said there's no evidence for that. You can't do that. But he would say that even though he called it clumsy, like reading the Bible, it sounded clumsy, but he called it the most strictly accurate. Now, I looked up his credentials, and he's not without credentials, but he's also controversial. So I don't know. I remember loving his book when I was a witness, just because he was the only guy I could find who said the NWT was any good.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to talk about some points.
Yeah, go on.
My list over here. You know, and I want to talk more about the whole translator thing and what you just said, because that made me think about the first thing that I noticed about this video. This segment of this video, it was infuriating to me. The hypocrisy is what infuriated me. Okay, he says, you know, we shouldn't run ahead of Jehovah's organization. You know, where in the Bible does it talk about not running ahead of Jehovah's organization, first of all? And, you know, he's talking so much about translating things and being accurate. Well, if that was the case, then Jehovah, like you were just saying, it shouldn't even be in there in the first place. He contradicts himself. The hypocrisy is incredible, because he talks about not running ahead of Jehovah's organization and Jehovah this, Jehovah that. You know, if we're talking about accurate translations here, then the only thing that we should be using is YHWH, and as a stretch, Yahweh. Because if we're going to be accurate here when it comes to translating, Jehovah has nothing to do with the Bible.
Nope.
Nothing.
And
boom.
The translation team for the New World Translation is fully aware of that.
Yeah.
In 1969, in the Greek Interlinear, in the original introduction to the Greek Interlinear of 1969, it says from the translators that they know that Yahweh would be the more accurate choice, but we're using Jehovah because it's known. So it wasn't about accuracy.
And this is an apostate information.
No,
you can look this up in Watchtower publication.
But of course, true to Watchtower behavior, they changed it in the next edition of the book. But there's already copies. There's PDF copies of the original 1969 all over the place. I got one myself.
So if you want to know the truth, it's out there.
It's out there. Yeah, they knew that Jehovah was not an accurate translation, but they used it anyway.
Didn't the name Jehovah start in the 13th century with a
Spanish monk?
Something like that.
It is the Tetragrammaton.
It's like related to Catholicism or
it's
something.
It's the Latin version of the Tetragrammaton with the vowel points of Adonai, which means Lord, put in between. That's it. That's really all it is. It's just an ad hoc, makeshift way of pronouncing the name. There's no evidence that has any connection to the actual name, as far as I know. And if anyone else knows something I don't, because I admit I'm not a Bible scholar, unlike NWT.
How is that
if you know something I don't, please let me know.
To not even use it, and to refuse to use the more accurate version of it, and then also sit there and talk about the importance of accurate translations in the Bible. I mean,
in software development, we have
just damn.
We have an acronym called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. And what that means is it doesn't matter how well written your function is, if what goes into it is shit, what comes out of it is shit.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. And the video talks about how they take the English version of the New World Translation and they base all the translations off of the English version. But if what's going into the function is garbage in, the English New World Translation, what comes out of it is still going to be garbage. It doesn't matter how good the translators are. It's still going to be wrong.
That actually brings me to another point too, if I may. Why does God, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever you want to call him, why does he use and need imperfect translators? Goes back to that whole Gigo thing.
Yeah.
You know, why couldn't he do the work himself? This is kind of a side point here, but it's just, I couldn't help but think, you know, oh yeah, we work so hard to make sure it's inaccurate because it's been, or make sure it's accurate because it's been inaccurate so many times. I just thought to myself, we're talking about the most powerful being of the universe.
True.
Why couldn't he have just written his own stuff? In fact, why does he even need a book? Why can't he just talk to us?
I've asked that question too.
I've asked that one.
Let alone
many
imperfect
times.
translators.
Why isn't it just put into people's head what the truth is so that we know and there's no question?
We've talked about that before.
Why put it in a book that confuses the hell out of so many people?
Everybody.
And there's all these different opinions about what it means. I mean, God is God.
Doesn't look
Snap.
like the word
Everybody knows.
perfect
Okay,
at
if
all.
you guys had the power and you were the Almighty and you had this world down here, wouldn't you want, hey guys, y'all got that all wrong. Boom, let me show you something. This is the right way.
And this is not me.
I would
Yes.
so do that.
Right.
I've got kids. That's
Thank
like
you.
me writing a book in Greek, giving it to my children,
No,
and saying,
giving
"This is
it to
what I
somebody
want
to
from
give
you."
to your children
Oh,
that
that's
have
right.
never actually met you.
Right.
This is a
what I
letter
want.
from your dad, allegedly.
Yeah.
And
Have
if you
fun
don't believe
figuring
it,
out.
you die.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
At
It
all.
doesn't make any sense.
Another thing I noticed, I don't know if you wrote it down in yours, but that one guy, I can't remember which one it was, but they were talking about changing terms.
Yeah.
Did you notice
Yes,
that?
I did.
And I wrote down in my notes, here we go again, changing stuff and using
Manipulating them, if you will.
New terms. New terms that have been used for numbers of years are now being changed.
Right. And why do
Just
they
trust
change
us.
the term?
So does
We
that mean
got
that
this.
the old terms were wrong and inaccurate, but
That
they were
is-
taught that they
I
were
guess
the
God's
truth?
inspired terms became obsolete.
Here's why they do that. That is a typical high control group tactic. You go into
Yeah.
the community that
We have
has
a
a
better
certain
version of that
way
term.
of describing things, of talking about things. They use the normal language everybody in their community uses. Your group doesn't talk like anybody else anymore. You change the terminology. So if they go, let's say a witness in that group now starts speaking in New World Translation speak rather than the common version of the area speak. If they go and try to talk to somebody else in the community, there's going to be discord. They don't
They're
understand
gonna
each
be like,
other,
"What?"
especially if you were born into the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't understand anybody. It doesn't make sense because they're speaking different languages effectively.
Kidding me? They don't understand the uninspired.
So where do you feel safe is the
Cult
point.
terminology?
There's only one place you fit in. There's only one place your language
That's
makes
a good
sense.
point.
Back at the group.
Wow.
So they change the language to mean different things. And all religions do this to some extent, but high control
good
groups
observation.
really do it.
I didn't even
Make
think about
sure
that.
how you speak is different from how everyone else speaks, so you don't fit in anywhere else. And that's what they do. That's why he's talking, well, we have to change the terminology. That's why
Especially
they
when
do
you
it.
think that your terminology is superior, because that is what you were subtly encouraged to believe and to be taught and conditioned to believe at the hall.
And it's done under the guise of being more accurate.
Right.
Yeah.
When it's really not. It's
Right.
not more accurate. It's just meant to separate you from
That's
the
it.
rest of the community.
That's it. And
So
you
he
got to
talks
remember.
about that,
And you got to remember, these men admit to being uninspired. So it is
That's a
not
good point.
inspired.
I was thinking about that a second
That's
ago.
a
This
good
is
point.
their
Where are they getting
spin
this
on it.
information from?
Yeah. So your translation, as you call it, is just another uninspired book. Yeah. So what makes it any better than anybody else if you're uninspired? Wow. That's a good point.
Yeah, it is.
All right, now they go into 3 segments: illustration, the Bible verses, and illustrations vocabulary. Illustrations was actually good. I liked that segment. He talks about how he talks about how if you have an illustration in one community or one country that doesn't make any sense, and he used the one about a traffic jam.
That's true.
Yeah. In another country, that doesn't make any sense. They don't have traffic jams. You have to put it in words that people understand.
But do you know what that is?
What is that?
That's a sales technique. Knowing your audience.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Know your audience.
Well, I think about like skin a cat. There's more than one ways to skin a dead cat or whatever it is.
That's all I wrote down for illustrations.
Sales
technique.
Yeah,
know your audience.
Crazy.
And that's really the only takeaway from that.
That's what I got out of it.
Nothing else in there was really, it was interesting, but like you said, it's just how do you pitch to the audience? But then...
Yeah, the vocabulary was
just
interesting.
over-explain the hell out of it.
He goes into vocabulary. And when... he looked like the head translator in the team of the 3 that was talking. When he says something that made me forget everything else that was said in that segment. He says, "Isn't it impressive how Jehovah, how Jehovah made us with the capacity to have many different thoughts and ideas and to express them differently
that the governing body will not let us use."
Exactly. You just described exactly what witnesses do not allow.
No.
Yeah.
You have to think the way Watchtower.
You gotta have the corporate guy look.
But then they say, but isn't it impressive that Jehovah made us with varying thoughts and ideas?
Yeah.
But don't use them.
Don't use them.
Don't
use them, Jimmy.
And then
don't do it.
He says that on the heels of saying how they had to change the terminology to fit what everybody says back in the Old English language. But you just said it's okay for us to have different thoughts and ideas.
One thing that I noticed on this part of vocabulary that I picked up, they kept saying that the governing body approves to saying of the names of the meeting places. The governing body directs matters from headquarters. So the governing body is involved with approving and directing things when it comes to a lot of this translation stuff. Could we agree with that?
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah, it's got to go
but
to the right.
Why does the Watchtower and the governing body try to separate themselves from things when it comes to the CSA case?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Because they've tried to say they're not part of those policies.
That dude said the governing body approves, the governing body directs, the governing body is involved.
That's right. That's a very good catch.
So, Mr. Zalkin.
Mr. Zalkin.
We've got a timestamp for you on the September broadcast. 15 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah.
They literally say the governing body approves all that stuff. When it just comes to translating.
What about translating their policies? Not just the literature, but their policies. Well, sounds like the governing body's got a hand in that too. And those are the policies that dictate how they behave. Who translates the shepherd, the flock of God?
Wait, it'd be highly presumptuous to think that they're the ones who do that, man. I mean, that's highly presumptuous for you guys to think that. Okay.
Well.
All right. The last part, after the Bible verses or whatever, Bible expressions, illustrations of vocabulary, he then talks about the translation teams, and it's kind of blah, blah, blah. It's a little boring. He says that they don't micromanage them, blah, blah, blah. But then he says something again that makes me just forget everything else that was said. The head guy says, "It is impressive that Jehovah has an arrangement that reverses the effects of Babel."
Think about that.
God, according to Watchtower's theology, instituted the changing of the language. He calls
that's a loaded statement and reply.
This guy says that they're undoing that. They're undoing what God did. Now, you had something interesting about that I hadn't heard, because it's not something I look into. And I want you to talk about it, because I know we have a lot of viewers who think like that.
Yeah, I would actually. And I think that Lloyd Evans might have talked about this, and there's a few others in the EXJW community who have talked about this. I know Nathan on our group has mentioned it plenty of times. I forget his last name, but Nathan loves to talk about this point. And it's, okay, so what he said is interesting, because he said, it's interesting that Jehovah, has done this.
Has an arrangement,
right. Okay, so... a lot of people who are into conspiracy theories and studying about the occult say that, the name Jehovah is actually Satan. So Jehovah actually is Satan's name, not God, the God in heaven's name. So if that would, if that's correct, and help me out here, guys. If that's correct,
I can't help you with this because I've never researched.
Well, I can't remember exactly. No, you remember what he said though. If you remember, okay. So he's basically saying, if it's true that the name Jehovah is actually Satan, according to
the Freemasons
or occultists, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this. Go and do your research on this. I don't know a whole lot about it. I'll admit that, but I've kind of looked at it and dabbled in it here and there in my spare time. He's saying Satan. Isn't it interesting that Satan has this arrangement to bring,
to overturn
what God did, because God was the one who broke apart the languages to keep them from uniting. Well, if you study the occult, Illuminati type stuff, Freemasons, according to conspiracy theorists, because we don't know how true any of this is, but they are the ones trying to bring about a one world government, a one world thing, and
New World
reunite.
Order. That's on the back of the $1 bill.
Right, and bring everything. Exactly.
Yeah, with the
one world order.
What is it? The pyramid with the eye. See, I don't know anything about.
So he basically, he basically said, and if this is true, if witnesses are connected to Freemasons, then essentially he said, isn't it interesting that Satan is allowing us to reunite everybody and bring them under our one worldview? And you notice during the course of that conversation, he said something else that was interesting that I noticed. He said the governing body try really hard to make sure that we're all in line in our thinking. He didn't say unified.
Yeah.
Now you notice he didn't say to make sure that we're accurate and to make sure that, all of this is correct. No, he said to make sure that we're all unified in our thinking.
Even though earlier they were allowed to have variety of thoughts.
Variety of thoughts,
and the way we view things.
And expression,
yeah.
So the way he's steering this conversation in a very, very, very careful, very smooth way is interesting.
Yeah.
If any of this, that is to say, if any of this is actually true.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I do want to say something about that, because I know there's kind of been a lot of hubbub about the whole Freemason thing, because Lloyd, I actually haven't watched the video.
I personally believe it.
He released the video talking about the Freemason connection. I believe his personal conclusion was that there isn't one, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I just want to say I don't have an opinion. I mean, I have an opinion, but that's all it is, because it's not an educated opinion. So I'm not going to presume to tell people whether or not there is or isn't. The only thing I
think
can
it's
say,
legit, but I'll never be able to prove it.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that I can say is if you look at the symbology from all the way back in the days of Russell, this stuff does look similar. I mean, that's all I can
Templar.
say. Outside of that,
right there, the crown with the cross.
Templar thing. Yeah, outside of that, I have nothing to say, because I don't know. But Russell borrowed from a lot of different things.
Why does Russell have a pyramid over his grave?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why am I sitting over here thinking that there's more evidence or more things that would make the Freemason connection to Jehovah's Witnesses seem logical versus proof of Noah's flood?
I'll grant you that. There's probably a lot more.
It seems like there's a little more evidence there that it could be possible.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is this channel, at least for me, I don't have a stand on it because I haven't researched it, and it wouldn't be fair for me to have
I think there's too many coincidences.
A fixed opinion one way or the other.
It's too many coincidences.
Yeah, and you've talked about that.
Way too many.
Do your research. When I was waking up, I watched a couple of videos that were related to the Freemason stuff. But
it's not like they're ever going to come out and tell you. I mean, they're a secret society.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But
the governing body is also very secret. They're not going to. We would like to tell you.
Yeah, but
that's a good point.
I doubt they're going to.
See, I stepped away from that research because I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole because I had just woke up. Right. And so I would be interested in finding out more about that.
I really should watch that. I should watch Lloyd's video, and I should watch some of the other videos that Diasiss has talked about.
You know what? And maybe we need to do a roundtable on that.
That's a good idea.
We should.
Well, if you think that you would like for us to do a roundtable on the Freemason thing, I think you know that we'll try to be balanced.
I will be here.
Yes.
I won't even move
Just
from this
leave
table.
A comment.
I will sit here for like 2 weeks until we get this shit together.
Leave a comment. In fact, I'll put
talk
a poll.
about this.
I'm going to put a poll on the community page and ask people if they want us to cover it in a roundtable. And if we get enough people saying, yeah, do it, then we'll do it.
And then give us time to do our research and then we'll put it together.
Yeah, I know very little, so it's going to take time for me to have enough education to feel like I can talk about it.
All right, that's interesting.
Diasiss looks happy, so
let's do this.
All right, well, that's it for that. So let's get into the next segment, and we'll talk about that one.
Now, the following video relates an experience that is very dear to my heart. You see, in the 1970s, my wife and I were in the circuit work in Montreal, Canada. Now, one Tuesday evening after the meeting, I was approached by a ministerial servant. He was very excited. He said, "David, I work with a man who is the head of a small church. He's invited me to his home." "That's nice," I said. "If he's interested, invite him to come to the meeting this weekend. I'd love to meet him." I received a phone call from Brother Laurier-Saumur. Laurier said, "We have a problem. 1,000 people want Bible studies, and many of them are going to be attending our meetings this week." Watch the following video.
In the mid-1970s, several brothers from the Montreal area were approached to help with a unique situation that was unfolding. A special pioneer who was taking the lead at the time said that about 1,000 people, all from the same church, wanted to study the Bible with Jehovah's Witnesses.
But the Bible could always answer all these questions in a logical way. One verse would explain another, and we came to see that the Bible in its entirety could explain every subject.
And yeah, they answered with the Bible. That amazed me because I didn't know the Bible at all.
When we accepted it, then we teach it to our children.
Everyone was disciplined, sitting at the table. When these families came to the Kingdom Hall, the children were sitting beside their parents, not moving, paying attention to what was being said.
I saw them like future potential friends.
It really contributed to me one day taking a stand, and Jehovah becoming my God.
I was very afraid of death. It was such a relief to learn that we don't suffer when we die. It's like a sleep.
The ambitions I had before that may have been attainable became second place.
Today, these brothers are really doing a lot in the organization.
I really think Jehovah could see us on the inside. Jehovah helped us a lot.
On our own, we never would have got out of that situation.
Okay, so I didn't show the entire clip of that so-called experience, but I showed all the pertinent parts. So you can go back and watch the whole thing if you want to.
It's brutal watching the whole thing.
It is brutal.
We couldn't get through it.
The short of it is that David Splain recalls this time in his younger years, circa 1975. That's very important.
Yeah.
Where some dude in his congregation who was a ministerial servant is all excited because he's managed to talk to the preacher of a big church that had about 2,000 members. Now, the first thing I noticed about it is that Splain is like, well, he's talking like he doesn't understand. Why do you want to go to this guy's house? Just invite him to the Kingdom Hall and we can meet him there. Which, first of all, bugs me about witnesses because they don't want to spend any time with anyone who's not a witness. Well, don't go to his house. Invite him to the Kingdom Hall.
But they have no problem going door to door to other
yeah, but they
house.
have. Yes, exactly. So that bothered me, one.
Yeah.
But two, he then says that, oh, this ministerial servant didn't show up to the meeting on Sunday, and neither did the preacher, and I didn't know what was going on. And then I got a call from this guy who said 1,000 people want to study, and they have to find all the people to study with all these people, and blah, blah, blah. Now, first, when it starts the video about what supposedly happened, and I say supposedly because there's a lot of baloney in this video.
Yeah.
It puts it as circa 1975. Now, the first thing I want to know is, David,
interesting.
You were there, supposedly. Why do you put circa 1975? You don't remember what year this was? Now, I'll grant you, I forget stuff too, so maybe that I'll give him a pass, I suppose. Maybe he just doesn't remember exactly. But to me, it's very important that this happened on or before 1975, because that was a big growth period for Watchtower, because they were scaring the hell out of everybody, telling them the end of the world was coming.
Yeah.
So was that what was responsible for the 1,000 Bible studies? So that's the first thing I noticed. What about you, Jimmy? You summed it up pretty good.
I just see, I mean, I've been trying to just come up with a one-sentence coverage of each of these clips. Well, I kind of, on this one, I just saw such propaganda.
Yep.
You know, all is well with us. Ignore all the bad stuff you hear. Because right now, you know, there is a lot of folks that are leaving the organization.
Yeah.
And it's very well evident. I mean, people are noticing this. So this is Watchtower just putting this out there just to remind the rank and file, hey, everything is fine. Just ignore what you... Yeah, this happened 40 years ago, but it's still happening now.
Right.
You know, this experience, it's still going on.
I noticed that too. They couldn't pull a recent experience of 1,000 people starting to study, because that doesn't happen anymore.
But for the folks that watch this JW broadcasting, if they are actually watching this, they are indoctrinated rank and file.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So they're going to say, oh, well, did you see the video where they had over 1,000 people come into the organization? Yeah, what year was that?
Yeah.
And
it says in little white print, circa 1975.
And then,
so they don't really want to emphasize that.
Yeah.
Though he did say it was in the 70s.
But if it was like my mom, if it was my mom I was talking to about this, she'd be like, well, that happened in 1970. Well, hold on. Honey, that happened in 1975, and that's still happening today. It's evident. She would say that.
Yeah, I believe you.
I want to see an interview of somebody who was actually there. You know, since he doesn't want to pinpoint the year, maybe whoever is watching this that, you know, might have been there, maybe they know the year. Maybe they know what actually happened, the other side to the story. You know, the one that he's kind of leaving out.
Yeah.
That it was 75 when they were, you know, building all the hype about the world possibly very likely ending in the year 1975, and we're, you know, speaking for Jehovah. You need to listen to us because we know what we're talking about. Yeah.
Again, my whole thought on this is, okay, critical thinking. Why are they putting this video out there?
Yeah.
You know, what are they trying to tell the rank and file?
All is well. We are growing.
That's what I get out of this stuff.
Look at all these Bible studies. Look at how much the truth appeals to people.
Yes.
Yeah, they're trying to say that. But I found there's a number of things that
Look at how valid we are.
Number of things really got my goat, for a nice southern phrase there, about this video that was said. First of all, one of the sisters that was interviewed, and it's all translated because they're speaking French, because it's happened in French-speaking Canada. She says, whenever this happened, she was one of the people who was studied with, and quote, I didn't know the Bible at all. Which, those are the people Jehovah's Witnesses want to talk to.
Yes.
Because if you actually know anything about the Bible, it's very easy to see their theology doesn't stand up.
Yeah.
So I didn't know anything about the Bible at all. So that's one thing. Oh, the next part really bugged me. They show all these happy children sitting around the dinner table, hands up, ready to comment on the family study. And then the narrator's like, all the kids at the Kingdom Hall were happy and paying attention. Which, what do you guys think that is?
Bullshit.
What? How many kids are happy to study, go to the meeting, and are just so attentive?
Come on,
to
Timmy. All right.
There may be one or two delusional children that do this, but most kids are understandably bored because they don't understand what's going on.
I think I was one of the few. I was one of those. Yeah.
Well, see, because I kind of was where I actually paid attention, but I wanted to be out playing ball with the guys. But I had to go do my study first. So I did everything right so we could get through it. But my brother was the one that was just like flailing around all over the place.
And
rolling
I'm like, dude, come on, get straight so we can get done with this so we can get out of here.
And keep in mind, these children were not born in kids. These were the kids of the families that were studying, the thousand people that were studying.
They really didn't care.
Do you really think people who were used to birthdays and holidays and all the stuff that they did were suddenly thrilled
fun,
to be sitting around the table
humans.
reading a Watchtower?
Yeah, no.
No,
I doubt it.
So
propaganda.
Yeah, that's propaganda. Next thing one of the interviewed sisters says is she was a kid at the time, and she says she went to the hall. Actually, no. Yeah, she was a kid. She went to the hall, saw all these children coming in with these families that were studying, and, quote, called them future potential friends.
Yes.
Why potential friends? Well, because if they don't become Jehovah's Witnesses, they can't be your friends. The only ones who could be her friends were the ones who got baptized to serve Jehovah, which is a big problem I have with Watchtower. Everyone else is looked down on as lesser.
Is an agent of Satan.
Yeah, exactly. The agent of Satan. It's a high control group tactic. They have to be in the group or they're not your friends. You can't be friends with them. So I have a problem with that. Then they have a guy, one of the guys who's interviewed. He's so happy to finally know all these truths, blah, blah, blah. And he says he was happy about Jehovah becoming my God, right? First of all, he's coming out of a church, which I presume uses the Bible. So how is it that Jehovah, if there's only one God in the Bible, wasn't already his God? Okay, fine, you know his name if you believe that's his name, but he's still the same God, isn't he? Why do you suddenly have a new God?
Yeah.
Because you joined Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, I was thinking about another side point too. It was related to what you said earlier about the woman saying, oh, well, I didn't even know the Bible. And, every scripture, I think she or someone else in there said, oh, well, and every scripture took me to the next scripture. Well, one verse in a different book does not tie unrelated scriptures together, and neither do uninspired men who try to pick and choose what is related to each other and what's not. Okay? So just stop right there and think about that for a minute next time you're reading your Bible or listening to Jehovah's Witness theology or any.
The phrase for that is proof texting. This is what Watchtower does, and I've talked about it before on the channel. They come up with a statement.
I've never heard that term.
Proof texting is what it's called. They come up with a statement that they believe, and they hunt through the Bible to find a verse that proves what they just said. Now, it doesn't matter if the context makes it mean that. It doesn't matter. It just has to sound like it backs up their statement. It's a proof text. It proves what they already want to believe. Well, the Bible is a massive book full of thousands of pages and millions of words, well, hundreds of thousands of words. You can prove almost anything from it if you ignore the context, which is exactly what Watchtower does. So when you read Watchtower publications, you rarely read a verse-by-verse, like contextual analysis or something. What you read is their statement and a bunch of unrelated scriptures that are cited next to it. That's proof text.
That's not how a perfect God that wants you to know who he is would work.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how
I don't know
that
about
works.
you guys, but when you were reading the material and they have the scriptures in parentheses, how many people actually looked those scriptures up? You did it?
Yeah, I did it.
You did it?
Most of the time,
I did
it. Yeah.
I would have to do a talk or something.
Yeah.
I would too. But I got to admit, when I would read them in context, and this is even when I wasn't a hardcore indoctrinated witness, I'd read this stuff, and then I was the person who always wanted to kind of look at things from a different angle. Even now, I mean, I look at things from a different angle. I would read it, and when I would read the whole context, read the whole chapter, I would really get afraid because I'd be thinking to myself, this is not really related. It seems like they kind of reached really far to try to get this to apply way over here.
Yeah.
To what they're actually trying to imply that it actually meant, because the actual scripture seems completely way over here unrelated to anything that they just tried to make it seem like it actually meant.
Yep. Well, your gut was right, which is probably why you're not a witness now.
There you go. Here I am.
Because that's what they do. It's unrelated stuff. So that's a good point, and that bothers me. Then, and this was the one that really hit, there's a sister who says, I was very afraid of death. That's why she started studying. She was afraid to die. Now, two things came to my mind when she said that. One, was she afraid because they were telling her the end of the world was coming in 1975? And is that why she started to study? Or two, were they just taking advantage of some poor woman who had a fear of death, and they were trying to offer her the solution? Right? Because Watchtowers, they know for that. When someone's had a loved one die, when they're in sore straits, whatever,
Dave,
that's when they come in to get you.
You're leaving shit out of the story, man.
There's so much being left out of the story. And that's propaganda. They're not telling you the whole story. Right? And then the next guy, and I saw your reaction to this, so I want you to talk about it. He says, the ambitions I had before that were attainable became second place.
I did a face palm when I heard that, because the only thing I could think about was in the material leading up to 1975, Watchtower railed to the fact that, oh, well, you young ones, you don't have to worry about it in higher education because you're not going to make it out of this, decade or this century, because you're not going to need this in the new system.
Again, not apostate propaganda.
And just like
literature.
And the reason I did the face palm is I'm thinking, all these people that had so much potential to do so much more with their lives, and Watchtower decided to go ahead and hijack their life just to further their own interest.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they've done.
Because that's what love is, right?
Yeah. People sold their houses, they quit their jobs, they did all these things in anticipation of what Watchtower very strongly implied was going to happen in 1975.
It's so sad.
And then when it didn't happen, they blamed the rank and file for getting the wrong impression from their very clear statement. Stay alive till 75.
Again, ultimate narcissism.
Yeah.
Victim
never
blaming.
their fault. Yeah.
Victim blaming.
Victim blaming.
No.
And then true to Watchtower's very low view of women, one of the guys says, today these brothers are doing a lot in the organization. What about sisters?
Yeah.
Don't they, doesn't the Bible say the women are a large army? I mean, aren't the women important too? No, not to him. Only these brothers.
Hell, there's more of them than there are men.
Yeah, there's a lot more. Yeah. So we've got all that. And then another line that really bugs me is at the end, one of the sisters says, on our own, we never would have gotten out of that situation. See, that's bite model. Back to Stephen
God for those uninspired men.
Yes. The bite model has a red flag when the group teaches that there's no hope, no happiness or peace outside of the group. It's probably a high control group. And that's what she says.
When they
I couldn't have done this on my own. I need the group to fix it for me.
Yeah.
But what is the group? Well, it's just a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
There's just a bunch of other people. So what is it about them that makes them better than you? Well, they're the group.
Other people.
That's how high control groups work. So we've got all that. Now, let's do some math.
Oh, yeah.
Because at the end of the video...
You were waiting for this part, John.
Oh, this part is
John's the math guy.
It's so wrong. It is so misleading and wrong. At the end of the video...
Let's do it,
The black screen comes up and it says, over 200 former church members and their descendants have come into the truth. And they act like the 1,000 Bible studies is a huge deal. And wow, over 200 people from this church came in. No, wait, no. No, 200 people from the church did not come into the truth. 200 people and their descendants came into the truth. That's very important. I didn't notice that the first time I watched it through. Only when we watched it together did I catch it. So I know a lot of people aren't going to catch it when they see it. 2,000 church members, they said in the video. 1,000 Bible studies. So only half the church decided to study. Of that 1,000 people, 200 people total, including all their descendants through the generations, came into the truth, which means if you do the math, maybe 50 or so people from the church actually studied to the point of baptism. That's 2.5% only. What did the other 97.5% of people who rejected the message see that made them say, no, that's not for us? And how many of the 2.5%, the 50 or whatever people, only got baptized out of fear that the end of the world was coming in 1975?
This is so real that only 2% out of that whole number actually believed it.
Yeah, but see, the thing is when folks are watching this, they're not going to be thinking about that.
Of course
Even
not.
when you scare the hell out
The
of them.
only thing they're going to think is
about the 1975
1,000
Bible studies.
Wow.
That's great.
1,000.
And when it gets to the black screen and it shows the actual number, they probably tuned out by then.
Yep.
You know how many?
They just don't make that connection.
Yeah.
It's crazy too. I mean, you know how many Bible studies I've had? I've probably had 10 to 20 Bible studies that I've conducted because I was conducting Bible studies.
That's cute.
Diasiss would be an awesome study conductor. Do this, or God will strike you down.
I was that type.
I told you I was going to get you back from going on video without doing a video without me, and I did it publicly. You're cute.
You got to edit that, John. That's it, man. Wait till we get off camera. I owe you one for that one.
Oh no! There's going to be a smackdown. There's going to be a
no, come on, whatever, man. Yeah.
All that NWO we were talking about in the last
That's
video.
right.
Yeah, I was getting riled up.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Hey, dude, you are sitting on a metal chair.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get through this, y'all.
Do this shit.
All right, so your point is you studied with a lot of people. How many of those people actually got baptized?
Yeah, I mean, it's sad. None of them.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't have anybody get baptized either.
How many Bible studies guesstimate would you
When I was
have?
pioneering, probably 8.
Yeah.
I studied with, I'm like Diasiss, at least 20 people.
Yeah.
Of
Studied with a lot.
which, to my shame, one person did get baptized.
Oh, damn it, John.
And I believe is still on Jehovah's Witnesses.
Wow.
We got to rescue him.
So that's strike one against me.
We'll plan a mission and
I'm
we'll
trying
get
to
their
make
ass
up
out.
for that by reaching the hundreds of thousands of people
good.
that have watched these
Well,
videos. So I apologize to
E
the
for
person who
effort.
got baptized. I hope you make it out.
Yeah.
Maybe you will.
We're going to get your ass
He was
out
a
of
good
here.
guy, too. That's what makes it work. If he was like a
And get you out of
jerk
there.
or an a-hole or something,
Yeah.
I'd be okay with him still being a witness, But this was a good
was a
dude.
pioneer.
He was a good friend of mine, and I feel really bad about it.
Well, you were trying to do the right thing.
I
We were
thought
all
it was
doing
at
what
the
we
time.
thought was right. We
That's
were
true.
all doing what we were scared into believing
That's
was
true.
the truth. And you got to go and tell people, because if you love Jehovah and if you love mankind, this is what you do.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think what I put down on here is
But I think our Bible studies were smarter than we were.
they probably were.
Yeah, most of them were, yeah.
But are we to the point of summing up this clip?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about the bite model and Stephen Hassan and all that in this clip. And I just wrote down that if we had to take a shot or a puff every time Watchtower checked off the box.
Oh, God, man.
Checked off the box for a bite model thing.
true.
in
Red
this
flag,
clip.
yeah.
In like
All of
the
us would be
next-
passed out at the foot of
That's
this
true.
round
We'd be in
table.
the next Dr. Dre video. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
serious.
because there's so much of it in that clip.
We'd be laying next to Tony.
Yeah, that's man. That was funny. Seriously.
All right, so let's get into the next clip.
Sometimes I really hate my job. I don't know how Jason stays so positive. I asked Jason why he refused the money, and I found out he's one of Jehovah's Witnesses. My wife is too. Jason showed me a Bible verse. Whatever you are doing, work at it whole souled as for Jehovah, and not for men. Jason's relationship with God influences every aspect of his life, even his attitude toward work. He couldn't participate in something dishonest. Jason offered to study the Bible with me. I accepted. I liked my study and even enjoyed going to the Kingdom Hall occasionally. But I have to work overtime to support my family. I can't go to meetings every week.
How do you do it all? Work, family, meetings, even volunteer work.
I try to keep in mind Jesus' words in Matthew 6 verse 22. Jesus compared our eyes to a lamp. He said if our eye is focused, our whole body will be bright. If you asked Emma, which do you think she would prefer? That you made more money or spent more time with her at the Kingdom Hall?
And I decided that I too want to work whole-souled for Jehovah.
Okay, so I showed you part of the clips where there was a dramatization, and that's very important because a dramatization is not an experience.
That means it didn't happen.
It didn't really happen. It's like, it's just a drama like they would have at the conventions where they'd have a modern family or something. It's not based on something that actually happened. It's not a real story. It's just some shit they made up to make you, think that this is stuff that really goes on. If it had been an actual experience, they would have said that, like they did with the 1975 1000 Bible Studies thing. This really
don't have any
happened.
experiences
We're just
anymore.
showing you what happened. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. This didn't really happen. This is just a drama. All right. Then the drama is this guy. What did he say? What country it was?
I forgot.
I don't think he said. If
because
it did,
I was waiting for what we'll talk about here in a minute.
But it wasn't in the States. It was in another country.
Yeah, I don't
and
remember
this
that.
guy whose wife is a witness, but he isn't, works with a guy who is a witness, who is just so honest, and he refuses to take a bribe, which is good for him for not taking a bribe. But here's the part that bothers me. The first part.
Yeah.
So the first thing that bothers me is they're sitting down, they're having lunch together, and the guy whose wife is a witness, but he's not, asks the witness worker, why didn't you take the money? And the guy explains to him about being honest, blah, blah, blah. And then the non-witness says, oh, it was so great that he couldn't participate in anything dishonest. Well, the first thing that jumped into my head was the governing body telling all the congregations that they were going to take care of all the maintenance on the Kingdom Hall.
You guys really want to talk about honesty?
Yeah, and all of that.
I don't think so.
All the congregations agreed, and they signed over the Kingdom Halls to him, and then did Watchtower take over the maintenance of
We're
the
going to
Kingdom
just
Halls?
keep the money.
No, they sold them and started consolidating congregations and telling people they had to go somewhere else.
Yep.
That is dishonest.
A little.
There's nothing honest about that. So while the rank and file guy couldn't participate in anything dishonest, governing body can.
Yep.
And that's okay. So that's the first thing that bugged me about it. What about you?
Everything.
I don't know. After watching this, I've just kind of zoned out a little bit. I'm just going to be straight.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Because I got a lot to say, and you guys can just add to it. But I know there's one thing.
I guess, like I said, I've been doing all the clips. Is okay, why are they showing this? And the only thing I could really get out of it after we talk about everything, y'all will realize why I said this. Just have faith in what we're saying, that your life will be so much better by listening to Watchtower. Don't listen to the apostates when they say that you don't need Watchtower to be happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm getting out of this one.
That you're right, it is. But something important happens.
God, we both noticed the same thing.
Yeah. Well, why don't you bring it up, the Diasiss? What happened?
The goatee thing? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Me and Jimmy both noticed it at the same time. We were kind of dueling as to who was going to bring it up first. So we'll both just talk about it. No, it's okay. We both noticed it. It's only fair.
The guy starts out. He's got his goatee.
Yeah. And
then I noticed that, and apparently you noticed at the same time. So when we were watching the clip,
I was waiting for it.
We both were looking at the
I was like, here we go, here we go.
computer. Well, I'm like, what are you looking at? wait and see if the goatee's coming off.
Yeah, when's it going to disappear?
And it did.
Sure enough, when he goes to the Kingdom Hall with his wife and they're singing a song, it pans around and it's gone. He's just got a little...
Because image is everything, and you got to have the corporate guy look. Now, why is it that, you know, as his spirituality progresses, the facial hair starts to disappear? What is so unspiritual about beards and goatees when everyone has them, first of all, in today's society, and then the next clip,
the next part
right after that, shows the guy holding the damn candle.
Yeah, the lamp thing.
With
the beard.
He's not qualified. He is not
I just had a
spiritual.
thought.
It's dramatizing Jesus' illustration of
Damn
the
it.
lamp and the oil, and the guy in the drama's got a beard right after the clip where he's shaved.
I have a thought.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about the reason that they used Jehovah's name.
Yeah.
Because it was popular.
Yeah.
Beards are popular now.
That's right.
Facial hair is popular.
It's what men do, governing body.
So if it was okay for the governing body, Watchtower, whatever, to say we use Jehovah's name because it was popular.
Right.
Then why can't we have beard?
Thank you.
Why can't they have beards and facial hair?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because it's popular.
It's just another control
It's just
mechanism. Another one of the red flags.
Oh,
you gotta
no.
check.
And, you know, honestly,
White
yeah, what you just said and what you said. Yeah, I mean, it goes to show you just how controlling they are.
Yeah.
Look how controlling they are. I mean, this is the peer pressure. This is the implication. Here, as you get more spiritual, you know, you're going to develop the corporate guy look now, and this is inappropriate. Yeah. You're not a spiritual brother. You're reaching for the world for having facial hair that God gave you, that Jesus and all the prophets of old had, that is socially acceptable to. I mean, don't even get me started.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
and
don't even get me
we talk about
started.
this all the time because it keeps coming up all the time.
Yeah.
But the thing
Controlling
that really,
much?
The part that bugs me the most is they make that implication and then immediately show that historical figure from Jesus' day with the beard.
Mm-hmm. Hypocrisy again.
It's just so ridiculous.
It strikes again.
Yeah. And then, okay, so after that, the beard disappears and now he's more spiritual, he's still working too much.
All of a sudden he's a better person.
Overtime. And he asks the witness who's studying with him now from his job, how do you do it all? How do you do it all? And here's the truth. Here's the reality is the teacher doesn't do it all. The teacher's not planning a retirement fund. He's not, he thinks the end of the world is coming.
Yep.
And when it doesn't happen, just like it hasn't happened for the last 140 years, he's going to be stuck old with nothing to retire on. Watchtower's not going to help him.
Nope.
So the reality is he's not doing it all. He's only doing the things that Watchtower has approved for him to do, which does not include planning for his own future.
It doesn't benefit him.
It doesn't benefit
benefits
him.
Watchtower.
Yes, and he says that. At the end, he says, I too want to work whole-souled for Jehovah. But he's not going to work whole-souled for Jehovah. He's working for Watchtower.
That's right. There's a difference.
Last point I want to make. The teacher asks the guy who's now clean-shaven and spiritual, that's working too much overtime for the benefit of his family, he asks him, what do you think she, meaning his wife, wants more? That you make more money or that you spend more time with her? Now, if they had stopped there,
thank you, John.
If they had stopped there, spend more time with her, you know, that's true. Which is more important, making a lot of money or spending time with your family? That's true. I'm a minimalist. I don't believe in having more stuff than necessary, less stuff, more life. Yep. Beth and I both feel that way. But he doesn't stop there. He says, what do you think she wants more? That you make more money or that you spend more time with her at the Kingdom Hall? So it's not about him spending time with his wife. It's about him spending time with his wife in service to Watchtower.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's not about his family
made it
at all.
all about them again.
It's
like the
all about
narcissist, victim blamers they are.
That's, amen. That's what it is.
Yep. Again.
This stuff is not good for my stress level.
I'm telling you, like, we could go on and on and on.
We could.
But you will run out of data.
There's more to cover. So let's get to the next clip.
Soccer was my reason for living. I always dreamed of becoming a professional soccer player. I thought that happiness comes from fame. A good career. Money. When I was 6, my parents signed me up for soccer. When I was 12, I learned about Jehovah from my mom. When I was 17 years old, I finished school and I received an invitation from the Dynamo Soccer Club in Kiev. I also invested huge sums of money in real estate. The turning point was a conversation with management when an issue came up. And they hurled insults at me. At that moment, I felt worthless, like a disposable cup that you use, then crush, and throw away. Besides, a new generation of soccer players was arriving, many young guys. I stopped being included in the starting lineup. Also, the financial crisis began, and real estate prices fell drastically. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. And then I remembered everything that I learned about Jehovah when I was a teenager. Everything that this world offers is all short-lived, and it's only an illusion. People see only one side of the picture, the fame, the money. The other side is the injuries, disappointments. It's very hard psychologically and emotionally. You have no freedom. That's why it's better to give the very best to the one who appreciates it. What you do for Jehovah will always bring you happiness, joy, and satisfaction.
To quote Paul's words at Philippians chapter 3, verse 8, I have taken the loss of all things and I consider them as a lot of refuse, or, as the footnote states, garbage, rubbish, that I may gain Christ. We can have confidence that anything we throw away for the sake of our spirituality has no real value when we compare it to the blessings we enjoy as Jehovah's friends.
Okay, so I showed you the pertinent clips from an experience of a Russian soccer player who was raised a witness, became a professional soccer player, got old. What a surprise. He aged.
No!
And so wasn't doing as well anymore. And he finished his contract with them. And he came back to Jehovah and he's so much happier now that he's out. And they're just so terrible. Right. So that's what that was about. Now, I didn't make you or Jimmy and Diasiss watch the whole thing.
Thank God.
Because the ADHD is kicking in and it's just so much more of the same propaganda. But there are some important points that I showed them and that I want to talk about from the video. The first thing is that the guy is describing how mistreated he was as a Russian soccer player. Again, what a surprise. I mean, were you really shocked that it wasn't a great experience? 2, he uses these words. He says, I felt worthless, like a disposable cup that you use, then crush, then throw away. Which immediately brought to my mind all the Bethelites that they sent home unceremoniously with no pay, no support to find a job, no housing, no nothing. So long.
I wonder
Thanks
how
for your
used and
service,
crushed
old
they feel.
people who can no longer help us. And I actually read recently, and I hadn't thought about this, there's a new video on JWORG Broadcasting talking about how great it is and you should go to Bethel. And I was like, why are they asking for Bethelites when they just sent thousands of people home a few years ago? Someone brought up a point I hadn't thought about. They said, and I can't remember if this was on Watchtower or on Reddit. I think it was on Reddit.
Yeah.
He said, well, think about it. The Bethelites they sent home had gotten older. were much more expensive for the doctors and people to maintain, couldn't work as hard, all of that. So they sent them home, and now they're trying to get younger people back at Bethel who have the backs and the muscle and the health to do the work.
Just another way for them to try to save money.
Yep.
So they can use that saved money to fight their lawsuits.
I'm just so glad that they were deluded enough to not feel used and abused like this poor brother did, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, thank God for that.
Yeah.
What I noticed in that clip was when he was talking about, I guess when he was done, he says, and I remembered what I was taught as a Jehovah's Witness. And I was thinking, he was POMI.
Yep.
Physically out, mentally in.
Yep.
Yeah.
All those years.
Yeah.
So that just really shows how deep this indoctrination can be.
Yep.
And then he says, "Oh, got old from, being an athlete and real estate, and so I, got back to Watchtower," as if that's going to make your economic situation
That's a good point.
way better.
Yeah, because he talked about how he invested in all this real estate with the money he made as a professional soccer player, and then the Great
let
Recession
all that
hit,
go.
and all the real estate values
Much better.
dropped. So he goes back to Watchtower like he's going to be any better off. I hadn't even thought about that financially as a window washer than in investing in real estate.
How many pioneers do you know that have money, or a lot of them that are indoctrinated, that have, besides the governing body?
With the Rolex, right?
Right,
Mr. Hurd,
thank
your
you.
beautiful watch, yeah.
That have money. I mean, many of them are struggling. I know a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses right now, and on a more serious note, I know a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses now that are struggling.
Oh, yeah.
Struggling. And they're turning down jobs and money left and right. They've got kids. They've got food that's being given to them. And they're borrowing money, and their furniture is secondhand. Everything is being given to them. And they're barely struggling to survive, maintain, and have work day to day because they want to be more spiritual. Do you really think Jesus or Jehovah or Jesus, who they don't even mention hardly ever in the video,
I'm glad you brought that up.
would want you to live that way? Yeah, go ahead.
At the end, first of all, the soccer player says, everything this world offers is short-lived and only an illusion, which made me think, kind of like Watchtower prophecy. All right, so there's that. Then he says that in the soccer club, you have no freedom.
So he joins the witnesses.
Where all this freedom exists?
They probably made you shave before you even did that interview. But hey, man.
Right.
Glad you got that freedom, bro.
So then, of course, they have the beautiful propaganda closing with the soft music and the dark screen. And it goes back to the governing body helper who quotes Philippians 3:8, which says, I consider it all as a lot of refuse that I may gain Christ. Now, I pointed out that the soccer player never once mentions Jesus. He talks about Jehovah, but never Jesus. But then Jimmy had a great point.
I was sitting here thinking, they haven't brought up Jesus at all.
At all.
In this broadcast.
He's not in it.
Not even being
Thank
mentioned.
God they quote Paul.
It always
dying
refers,
for Christ.
all these experiences, all these dramatizations, whatever, refer to Jehovah.
It's all about Jehovah.
And then they followed up with a phrase about Watchtower.
It goes back
so
to
they're
my theory
always
of them being related to
equating
Freemasonry.
Jehovah and Watchtower, making them connected. So that's why when people, when folks leave the organization,
doesn't make sense.
That's why those that are still in say, "Oh, it's so sad that you're leaving Jehovah, or you're leaving Jehovah God." No. I'm leaving Watchtower.
It's not the same.
There is a difference.
There is a huge difference.
You're not coming back to Jehovah. You're coming back to Watchtower. You're not leaving Jehovah. You're leaving Watchtower. It's not the same.
But the way they set it up in these,
It's blasphemous
propaganda
for them to
videos,
even equate themselves on
And
that
they
level.
do, all
Truth
the
be
time.
told, that is blasphemy. If you really want to be technical.
Yeah.
They never directly say when we say Jehovah, what we mean is Watchtower.
Yeah.
But it's always implied. In the
Kind of like 1975.
Yeah, 1975.
We never said it, but we wrote about it.
In that video, in the 1975 video with the 1,000 Bible studies, they do the same thing.
Yeah.
They do the same thing. He acts like, because he becomes a witness, he has a different God, even though he comes from a church that used the Bible.
That
and then
talked about
woman
Jesus
says that
more than the witnesses
And the
do.
woman says if it wasn't for Jehovah, blah, blah, blah. But what she means is if it wasn't for Watchtower, blah, blah, blah. So it's that equation.
And then the whole video is just blah, blah, blah. I mean, hey.
Diasiss, you pointed out, and I got to look into this now, the connection between that and the other stuff, the conspiracy stuff that you were talking about.
Yeah, and again, you know, this is hit or miss. It's conspiracy theory type stuff. But if you notice in the video and a lot of the publications, they don't talk about Jesus, bring him up, reference him, especially in any kind of venerated way. He's not in the glossary. Look it up.
Oh, that's right. He's not in the Bible's
glossary.
glossary, the New World Translation.
Yeah. Well, a lot of conspiracy theorists that talk about Freemasonry, Illuminati, stuff like that, which again, I do not know a lot about. So if you guys or powers that be are watching, I am saying I do not know. I might be talking out of my ass. But they say in conspiracy theory videos that, you know, Jesus is forbidden to be talked about openly. And you see that a lot with Watchtower. That
they do mention him, though.
They
but
do.
They don't put, obviously,
enough to say that we mention Jesus.
Yeah.
But they don't put him on the same level that the Bible even puts him on.
Yeah, no, not
I am
even
the truth,
close.
the light,
Not
the
even
way.
close to what the Bible puts him on, yeah.
You know, and even you see that at the memorial. That's where it's probably the most apparent. You know, you cannot, you know, take up emblems.
Yeah, I've read about you reject the emblems, and in doing so, you reject Jesus because Jesus said, keep doing this in remembrance of me.
Right.
And he didn't make any exceptions to that.
That's right.
But then they don't do it. So
unless you
I've read that
partake
too.
of me and drink of my blood, you have
That's
no
right.
life left in you.
That's right, yeah.
So
and you have a video where you talk about that.
Yeah, I do. And so these are just, you know, these are just my observations. These are just kind of me, you know, sitting in the back, just kind of going, you know, this is interesting. It seems like that's kind of connected there, and just kind of pointing stuff out that I thought was interesting.
I will say this, even if it's not connected to Freemasonry or whatever, it's definitely interesting.
I was going to say, even if it's not true at all, it's still interesting.
Yeah, they put Jesus so low.
Yeah.
When the whole New Testament and what even
supposed to be all about Jesus.
I'm not a big fan of Paul, but Paul like raves about Jesus.
Yeah.
It's all about Jesus. But then they don't do the same thing. They even apply the scripture that directly says it's all about Christ to gain the Christ. And at the end, the helper says there's no real value when we compare to the blessings we enjoy as Jehovah's friends. He didn't even mention Jesus right after quoting the scripture that talks about Christ.
Well, and also, too, and you might want to show this on the green screen, you know, John, they even go so far, the governing body that is, to remove Jesus from the equation altogether. Do you remember that piece of literature that they had maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, where you had Jehovah up here?
Yes. It was like a earth.
And the new version of it, deleted Jesus altogether, and
Jehovah's
they
on the
replaced
top.
it with themselves.
It goes from Jehovah to the governing body to like the overseers to the congregation to the publishers.
Yeah. And if you are a Bible thumper,
Jesus isn't in the picture.
Right. And if you are a Bible thumper, that is the most blasphemous bullshit ever.
Yeah.
If you believe,
as
you're
a
a
Christian,
believer.
it's all about Jesus. Yeah, and it is interesting.
Just my 2 cents.
Okay. All right. Well, we only have 2 segments left. So let's get into the next one. And we're going to keep that one really short because it's very boring. It's all about numbers and calculations, and it's pure speculation crap. So we're going to keep it short. I'll show a few little clips, and then we'll talk about it and dismiss it as the baloney it is and keep going.
For my second discussion on this broadcast, I'd like to talk to you on the theme, Do the Math. Jesus said to them, "Truly I say to you, in the recreation, when the Son of Man sits down on his glorious throne, you who have followed me will sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel." So, Noah died in 2020, and Abram was born 2 years later in 2018. They never knew each other. He was probably already in the army. So, if Jonathan was at least 20 when Saul began to rule, and David was born 10 years after that, what difference in age would there be between Jonathan and David? About 30 years difference. Job's test must have occurred sometime after the death of Joseph. We know that because at Job chapter 1, Jehovah told Satan, "There is no one like Job on the earth." And the Bible will give you all the information you need to figure it out for yourself. But the fact is, probably none of those questions ever kept you up at night.
All right, that was by far the most boring part of the broadcast. And again, I didn't make Jimmy and Diasiss watch the whole thing because it's so boring and it's nothing that's really important. In fact, let's give your point first. Your point first. What did he say at the end about those questions?
And help me out with this.
Sure.
Because it's a lot of bullshit flying around here. He says, but none of these questions will really keep you up at night, right? No. Bullshit, actually. Yeah, they did. Mm-hmm. In fact, they have kept me from coming back to being a Jehovah's Witness because they can't really be validated or proven beyond the shadow of a doubt. And then he says, oh, well, you know, look at the insight and Bible if you want to know. In other words, we're too damn lazy and scared to explain, this bullshit to you. So we're just going to go ahead and leave the burden of proof on you to go and try to figure out in the insight book and the Bible. Wait a second. If Jehovah's saying it, why do we need the insight book, like you said, Jimmy, uninspired?
Yeah.
To try to explain and translate what the hell Jehovah was trying to tell us?
Right.
As if he couldn't do it himself?
Why isn't the Bible enough?
Right.
Why isn't that enough? Why do you need the insight book? Now, Diasiss alluded to what the governing body, where David's playing, what he was talking about. Mm-hmm. Now, all he's doing through this whole clip is he's going through these speculative assertions of Watchtower.
Thank you.
And showing how you can, quote, prove that their speculation is true by not just reading the Bible, because you can't get to it, and the Bible doesn't say it. And he says in a few places, well, the Bible doesn't actually say that. But he says, look it up in the Insight book and think about it. And he uses Watchtower's faulty chronology to try to prove a bunch of things, like Noah and Abraham not being contemporaries is one of them.
I was just sitting here thinking,
what?
This is exactly what C.T. Russell did.
Yeah.
Studies in the scriptures.
This is how all this shit started.
He said you could not understand the Bible if you did not have studies in the scriptures.
Yeah. Where is studies in the scriptures now?
You can't understand the Bible unless you go look at the inside.
How come we're still not using this great information?
Because they've already admitted they're not inspired. So where is this information coming from? That just hit me again.
Yeah, and what you said was interesting. John actually said something while we were watching this. You said, I said, none of these questions, I quoted Splain here, none of these questions actually keep you up at night. And it was like he was trying to imply to the audience and to the viewers, but this stuff is not really important. In other words, please don't dig deep and please don't, you said it better than me, but
I think what he was getting at, the way he put it, he said, look, if you come up with questions about these, what he thinks of as complicated things in the Bible. First, he says, always go to the Insight book. And yet, even though he says go to the Insight book, a few times he says, if you'd like to figure it out for yourself, read the Insight book. But that's not figuring it out for yourself. So what he's trying to tell you is don't worry about all these little things. When you see something in the Watchtower and it says, and you think, well, that's not in the Bible. Don't worry about that because we have these convoluted spaghetti logic methods of getting to the statement that we're telling you in the Watchtower. So just
though they're uninspired.
Yeah, just because it's not in the Bible doesn't mean it's not true. That's the takeaway from this section for me.
Good God.
Just because it doesn't say that doesn't mean it's not true. It's true because our speculative reasoning has arrived at a conclusion that may or may not be true.
I guess my takeaway on this was just this information is just designed to enforce the minds of the rank and file that you have to be super spiritual,
whether true or not,
and have faith to understand the deep things of the Bible. And those that do the critical thinking, they don't have the faith, and they're relying on their own understanding.
Right.
Right. Rely on our
That's what I got out of it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You have to read the Insight book to figure it out for yourself.
Yep.
And he even goes so far, he quotes, and this is the last thing I have to say about it.
Like you said, that's not figuring it out for yourself.
He quotes Matthew 19:28, where Jesus says the 12 apostles will sit on the 12 thrones ruling over the 12 tribes of Israel. He quotes that scripture.
There's a few more.
Wait a minute.
Others.
So Jesus just said there's 12 rulers on 12 thrones over the 12 tribes of Israel, which tells me two things. One, Jesus was a Jew. All he cared about was Israel. So when he talks about the rulership, of course he's going to talk about Israel. He does not talk about the whole world.
Yeah.
He said all the prophecies about Shiloh and the coming one and all that was about Israel. It wasn't about the whole world.
But wait a minute, John.
That's right.
But John.
So wait a minute, wait. So
Go ahead.
that's the thing. So it tells me it's Jesus, that Jesus was a Jew, only interested in Israel. And Jesus only talks about 12 rulers. But how many rulers does Watchtower say there's going to be?
144,000.
It's like, wait a minute, John, you're forgetting the unrelated, tied together scripture that Watchtower
You
uses.
didn't go down the spaghetti road to get to that
Yeah,
number?
no.
Damn it, man.
Come on,
You're
man.
not doing it. You gotta
You're slacking
do
on
it
us.
the
I
zigzag
didn't take
spaghetti
the broad
way.
spaghetti road. I took the narrow
Do
road
not
of what
go
the
straight
scripture
forward
actually
to the
said.
logic.
Wow.
You must tie unrelated
Yeah.
scriptures together.
Wow.
So that whole segment is just so much nonsense.
This is so brutal.
It's full of speculation.
killing
Well,
me.
there's only one
This
more
is so
point.
brutal, y'all.
We're
We gotta
gonna,
get
we're
out of
gonna
here,
cheer
man.
you guys up now with a perky, happy music video.
And then we're getting the
It's
hell out of the
about 4
studio.
minutes long. I know you're gonna love it. Okay,
We're getting a
I
drink
know
after
you're gonna
this.
love it, but please watch it because we have a lot to say about it after it's over.
Yes, we do.
Well, after all that math, how about a little music? This month's music video will let us experience some of the joy of traveling to an international convention and meeting our spiritual family members from around the globe.
Touching down in a foreign land with 1,000 miles behind us. Since we left our home, it's Jehovah's hand that is blessing every move. And the work that we do isn't easy, but it's all for Jehovah. And the love that we feel for this family is real, so this we say to you. We're all Jehovah's people, united. We are family, and though your land is far away, we love you. We're your family. Waiting there as our plane came in, you were reaching out to greet us. Then the music starts and the day begins, and our love grows even more. But we know that it's only Jehovah who can cause this to happen. So we'll praise him together and love him forever on every distant shore. We're all Jehovah's people, united. We are family, and though your land is far away, we love you. We're your family. Silver wings fly across the sea.
We're Jehovah, or whatever she was saying. All right, yeah.
We are family.
What's this thing?
Come on, all my sisters and me.
Bam! Come on, John. What do you think, man?
That shit, I need a drink. That's what I think.
Tony
12. Tony 12. All right, let's talk
this for
about
you,
this.
Tony. Hey.
Let's talk about it.
All right, yeah.
Good God.
Oh, yeah, that was fun. Okay.
All right.
Needs more bass.
Wait, no. Yeah,
Okay.
Okay. So what you just saw was a music video, which when we were all growing up in the org, was totally unacceptable. Here, totally unacceptable for that kind of music to be playing. Now notice, again, it's strong stuff. Notice,
I drink it all the time.
Jesus does not come up again in the song. It's all about Jehovah, right?
Right.
This very young person goes on an international convention trip, all right? Which also, did you notice, there were no old people,
in
the video at all.
Just
everybody
young,
was
influential.
Young. When was the last time you went to a hall that was all young people?
The 90s?
Never.
Not even in the 90s, right?
No, yeah.
So where were the old people? Why weren't there any old people in the video? What do you guys think?
Maybe they wanted to
appeal to a younger audience.
They're trying to make, in my opinion, trying to make the organization look much younger and hipper than it actually is. What it is, it's a religion.
My grandmother got me into this shit.
It's an old person's religion. There's not, the young people mostly leave.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting side point. I feel like more older people are religious because they didn't have the internet. They couldn't look up.
That's a good point.
They couldn't look up in 5 minutes the fact that their 12,000-year-old belief is bullshit.
Yeah,
and
that's
completely
a good point.
Falsifiable. Like
there was a lot
2 minutes.
less access to information. Now, what the song is talking about, it's basically talking about going to this convention, how there's so much love all around the world for everybody in the organization, at least for young people in the organization. I don't know if they don't love the old people. But one of the lines they keep repeating in that oh so catchy bridge or whatever, the love we feel is real. We love you. We are family.
Until you leave.
Until you leave. As he knows, and I know.
Yeah.
Your friends are only your friends until you have doubts or disagree with Watchtower. Your family is only your family until you disagree or have doubts.
We're Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Not any other damn thing.
So it's just another propaganda piece. This whole broadcast has just been
it's just
propaganda after propaganda after propaganda. The only exception so far was the part about translation, which it had propaganda in it, but it wasn't nearly as bad, in my opinion, as the rest. The rest was just pure propaganda. But
can we
all
even show
of it,
this? Like, do we need to like turn this around?
Oh no, I think they can see it.
Oh, they can see it. That's cool.
There you go.
All right, yeah.
Do it the right way.
Like have like the damn banner of it back here.
I have to thank Tony for Bottlegate.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know what Macallan 12 was until I saw that. And I'm like, Macallan 12? I wonder if that's any good. So I went to the ABC liquor store after I saw it. And I bought a bottle of Tony 12, and this stuff is damn good.
It's like, I feel like a dragon,
Yeah, it's really strong.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tony?
You don't mess around.
Tony is a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
But he has got damn fine taste in scotch. That's all I got to say about that.
Oh, God.
And it's really good. You should try it. Because, Macallan
Have
has
it like
nothing
flashing
to do with
back. This whole segment just turned into a whiskey commercial. Macallan, drink. alcohol.
Yeah, but you know, watching that video, the first time I
We're
could
doing
get through
it, so should you.
First time I watched the video, I could get through it without a drink. Second time, no.
Hold on, how long have we been filming
like the
this thing tonight?
Calypso vibe.
What time is it?
Well,
it's like time to get the hell up out of
Our
here.
actual total recording time has been about 3 hours, but the video I don't think is going to be that long.
Yeah, we've been here for like 2.5, 3 hours talking about all this stuff. So
we've been here for more than 3 hours.
We needed a drink.
Have we really?
Yeah, it's been 3
Holy
hours.
shit.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're watching JW broadcast.
and cracking on it.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really the broadcast.
Yep.
The ending is just, it's a little segment that's not really important. If you want to watch it,
feel free to.
Yeah, go watch it. There will be
Go look it up for yourselves.
Go look at the insight book. Yeah, it'll be
Adios.
in the video description. It'll be in the video description. For fairness, I will provide a link to JW broadcast video in the description. But you guys got anything else to say about it, like in general overview terms?
Just propaganda, just solidifying the minds of the rank and file.
Right.
I think that's I think the whole reason behind these broadcast videos is to do that, is to solidify to the rank and file that, hey, we got the truth and we're right, because that's what the governing body is telling us. So you apostates and folks who don't believe the same way we do, you guys got it all wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I get out of it.
And honestly, and to the active witnesses that might be watching this, or the ones who are apologetic towards the, towards the religion, we're not necessarily beating up or picking on you per se.
No,
it's more of we know why the governing body are making these videos. So if we seem like we're being hard, it's not really towards you guys in the rank and file, or even maybe a lot of the people that are making the broadcast. Like I'm sure the woman that was singing in the video, and the people in the video, I'm sure they meant well, but we know, from all the research that we've done, why they're doing it.
Yep.
And what they're really trying to do.
I'm glad you said that about the woman who's
So we're not trying to be mean, we're just having fun, but kind of, shooting the facts too.
I'm glad you said that about the singer, because even though that is not my style of music at all, she has a really good voice.
She's got a
the
sexy
singer has
voice.
a beautiful
she sounds
voice.
hot.
Diasiss, we're listening. She sounds hot. I'm not going to say the rest of what he said, but he did say she sounds hot. Yeah. And I think, this person might have had a future outside of the Watchtower.
That's a good point.
In like music.
Yep.
But because of being a witness, will never be able to take that skill that she's been given by God and practice.
On a more serious note,
on a more serious level, to make a career out of it. Who knows how many people maybe she could make happy.
So many talented people have come through the Watchtower and have not been able to capitalize on their talents or display their talents.
Really? Yeah.
Because they had to slave for Watchtower.
Right.
Yeah, but Watchtower will use their talents, but won't let them use it for themselves.
Exactly.
But they'll use it for their own benefit.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's it. So if you guys liked our coverage of JW Broadcasting, complete with the jigs, we will do this.
That was so bad. That was so bad.
We will do this every month for the JW.
If you guys liked it,
monthly broadcast. If you like it, so let us know what you think.
We're gonna do shout
If
outs.
you like the video, be sure to click like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
Stalk us on Facebook. Join Watching Watchtower.
We got a bunch of shout outs. Be sure to hit the notification icon, because if you don't hit that, you won't be notified when we release new roundtable videos. And Jimmy's got a bunch of shout outs as usual.
First, Frank Rada, of course. We always give Frank a shout out.
Cheers, Frank.
His band,
Yes.
the Memphis Suns. Check them out. Also, too, Watching Watchtower, our Facebook group. Now we have about 946 members.
Yep.
It's a place that you can come to if you're newly out of the organization, PMO, needs some support. We have a lot of good topics there. There's humor. It's a very well-ran Facebook group, thanks to the moderators that we have.
Yeah, the moderators are awesome.
Yes.
They do a great job.
And,
very safe place.
Yeah, and we do have some rules. That's how we keep it, a safe, comfortable place for people to come. Also, too, just me. I went to a rock festival this past weekend. I was there for 2 days. I love rock music. And ever since I was younger, I've always liked it, but never got to be able to experience a rock festival. So I did, had a freaking blast. So that's
pictures on watching
You suck for seeing Godsmack.
Godsmack.
Damn it, man.
5th time, and they
love, hate, sex, and
it.
pain.
So yes, it was awesome.
But they see the shirt.
But I wore this shirt tonight.
Yeah, got the
it's
shirt.
the Blue Ridge Rock Festival. So next year, that will be held in Lynchburg, Virginia. Maybe a little town right around Lynchburg, but it'll probably be in September. So this year I went by myself, but next year, if anybody wants to hook up and go with me, I'm going again. So I would love to have, I'd love to have some company.
Hopefully,
It's bittersweet.
If the plans I've been talking about work out, I might be able to go.
That'd be awesome.
But this year, way too busy to be
It
able
was
to go.
awesome.
I want to go, but just all the people.
That's hard for me.
God,
too.
I want to see the
Yeah.
I
bands.
saw-
Can we get like a skybox where we just kind of float above
Dude,
everybody?
I saw, you know what I saw? I saw Jesus and Santa both crowd surfing at this rock festival. So
That's not unity.
There
Okay?
you go, unity.
That's unity
I left
right
the
there.
organization and I found Jesus at a rock festival.
Did you start singing the song? It's beginning to look alive.
No, but there was one of the bands that got
Emperor
on stage.
Constantine would be so pleased
Yeah,
with that shit.
of course.
The guy from STP came out.
Wow.
He's like, wow. Stone Temple Pilots was there too. He said,
Oh,
wow.
really?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. He's like, wow, it smells like Christmas out here. It was great.
That's
a
awesome.
blast.
Oh, last shout out, the Discord server. We have about 200 people on Discord now. We chat all the time. It's a great place to hang out. We have channels on everything, Bible, Christianity, ranting about the Watchtower, alternative theories. So if you like conspiracy
Yes.
stuff, I don't call it conspiracy theories. I call it alternative theories out of respect for the people.
Thank you.
We have an
I'm alternative
atheist
as
channel, agnostic channel, movies and arts, lots of fun stuff that people like to talk about, and there are a lot of hilarious discussions, a lot of good fun that goes on there. So, we have a not safe for work channel because people were posting a lot of that. I'm like, look, dudes, you gotta have your own channel where that stuff's safe. So if you're over 18, you can go into that one.
Okay.
All right.
Is that it?
That's it. Well, as always, guys, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and thanks for watching.
Thanks everyone.
See ya.
We're